find it hard to say this, but if you guys come back and say that it's impossible and you're not going, it's okay. It's just that I've watched so many people leave us and never come back again. And now, today is as sad as I've ever felt.
This scene really encapsulates why I fell in love with this series. A mixture of feelings, showing a deep emotional connection, the tenacity of youth, lust for adventure, and a fictitious culture culminating in this scene that fills the audience with excitement, sadness, fear, and awe all at once. Made in Abyss was a show I'd been meaning to watch for a long while, for a variety of reasons. The art and animation fit with my sensibilities with its cute characters and complex, sprawling environments. The scenery porn here is an absolute feast for the eyes, selling a world foreign and familiar so seamlessly, able to pull in viewers as much as it pulls in its cast with dangers lying just beneath the surface. Unfortunately, it was a series I never found time to actually watch until recently. Something about its haunting atmosphere, juxtaposed with its fluffy design, certainly makes this series stand out as unique and instilling a sense of wonder in its viewers. So with that said, no restraint on spoilers. Birthed from the mind at Tsukushi Akihito, Made in Abyss started as a manga back in 2012 on a web publication by Takeshobo. This is the only manga I've found that the guy's done, but holy hell, get him some more work because this guy has some real talent for telling a story with just his backgrounds. Which, seeing how this series got him a manga and an anime, it's definitely working for him. The series was eventually picked up for an anime adaptation in summer 2017 by Kinema Citrus, a studio mostly known for moe trash like Yushiki, Gochuman wa Asagi desu ka, and some more recent success by branching out with The Rising of the Shield Hero. That's not to say that's their entire repertoire, but those are probably the ones most people would be familiar with outside their films like Revue Starlight and a co-produced Araka 7 movie. What does that tell us? That a studio well versed in the moe cute style is handling an adaptation of a dark fantasy and adventure story that just so happens to use the moe style itself. An absolute perfect fit as it plays off both the franchise and studio's strong suit. Helming this endeavor was Kojima Masayuki, sorry to get your hopes up, as director. His body of work consists of such trash as Black Bullet, Piano no Mori, and literally who's ever heard of it. Sarcasm aside, he's a seasoned director and storyboarder with a wealth of knowledge, and an excellent candidate for handling this adaptation. Helping and bring this to life is the series composer, Kurata Hideyuki, who's handled head writing duties for Ore no Imoto ga Konna ni Kawaii Wake ga Nai, Drifters, Hellsing Ultimate, and Goblin Slayer. That's a ton of series that are heavy hitters in the medium, defining genres and standout names in anime, not to mention a varied tone from creepy incest comedies to creepy monster rape. But successfully handling the tonal waltz we're going to be dealing with from this series, I'd say we're in good hands here. And if you're wondering if this one could pack any more punch, the sound director is Yamada Haru, the mastermind behind Kimi no Nawa and Tenki no Ko's sound. This certainly fits as there's a distinct cinematic vibe to the audio when watching this series. But the direction, story, and atmosphere can only do so much when dealing with characters. Our leads are Issei Maria and Tomita Miyu as Reg and Riko respectively. Maria's main vocal roles people would actually recognize would be Killua from Hunter x Hunter and Yurika from Pokemon. But those are just a few in a long career handling male characters in anime, filling out the dependable and naive Reg with a ton of experience in these sort of roles. Miyu's a little less so, but still boasting an impressive resume in recent years, with Rizu Ogata from Boku Ben and Big Dick Twink from Me trying to avoid getting demonetized. What that tells me is we're dealing with two seiyus boasting a wide vocal range that can convey the feelings the characters are bound to go through as they venture down into the semi-literal depths of hell. The reason why I highlight this information is to give some insight on the staff who worked hard on this show. Showing a great director, scriptwriter, sound director, and cast are not necessary, but are certainly going to help make this series a stunning masterpiece. It's me giving them the recognition they deserve. The opening's probably the most lackluster piece in this series. While it's sung by our two protagonists, it's entirely expository, feeling less genuine and emotional than it should. The actual start of the song does instill a deep sense of wonder, utilizing the cultural shorthand of orchestra to sell a grand scale and adventure, made even more present by the characters falling to an empty void. But shortly thereafter, it devolves into a sort of flat J-pop piece that could fit into pretty much any series out there just about, and while selling me on the two leads more, doesn't instill a sense of excitement I want from this series, which is an absolute disservice. The insert song Hanezeve Cartagena conveys so much more about this series thematically, in a better way that resonates with the audience emotionally by starting off soft and building in scale and emotion, instilling an unending desire to dig deeper against the odds for the sake of glory, friendship, and knowing. Though, don't get me wrong, it's not lost on me that if that was used as the opening, it would definitely lose significance in this series. Either way, the opening isn't a selling point for me, but I wouldn't consider that a mark against this one. The basic plot is as follows. Riko, a girl who lives in this town surrounding the edge of the titular abyss, is exploring as part of her education/work. During her expedition, she gets attacked by a nightmarish abomination of teeth and death, as you often do, and is saved by a mysterious boy. When they get him to wake up, he has amnesia, but he's basically a robot who's damn near invincible and custom built to scale the abyss. They name him Reg, and he and Riko become fast friends. Shortly thereafter, news of Riko's mom, a legendary spelunker and white whistle, basically someone who can go as deep as they want, her coming home reaches her ears. She finds out that only Liza's whistle and notebook came back from the abyss, and her mom is honored as though she's dead. Riko refuses to believe that, and armed with a scrap of paper from Liza's journal telling her that she's waiting at the bottom of the abyss, Riko breaks against protocol and leaves with Reg to find her mother and learn more about the abyss, which he tags along because that's where he came from and he wants to know more about himself. On their journey, they meet friends and allies who knew Liza, or know more about the nature of the abyss, teaching the two as they venture through the layers. I'm not trying to ruin the viewing experience too much, but the deeper the two travel, the more about who Riko is, why she's so fascinated with the abyss, Reg's nature, and how the curse of the abyss factors into all this, makes for an underlying mystery to go along with the adventure sightseeing tour. Eventually meeting someone who survived the supposedly impossible ascent from the 6th to the 5th layer, as that either outright kills someone or turns them into a blob monster. Each layer has a distinct theme and atmosphere, packing in a ton of character and imagination into the scenery compared to what you'd imagine just traveling down a hole in the ground would be like. I was never bored with where the characters were for even a second. Everything in this series is not just beautiful, but terrifying. Thematically, this series fills a certain niche in the audience's hearts, that being adventure. Setting out and discovering something new in a foreign land, one that's foreign to the cast, but even more so to those watching, is the sort of story that gets people's hearts pounding as new discoveries are made around just about every turn. But why does that work here more so than other franchises? On paper, it doesn't seem that out of the ordinary, though in anime, if it's not futuristic, it's medieval fantasy, so there's an angle to investigate. The world itself is a Victorian steampunk setting with limited technology, meaning things that look familiar to the audience function differently or have a stylistic flair one might not expect. A vertical classroom mimicking the descent down into the abyss, wheels and pulleys having a greater prevalence than the equivalent time period, and balloons carrying things up thousands of meters through a variety of environments. Small twists like these sell the old but intriguing world this series is set in. And while that might seem minor, it's actually aiding heavily in perpetuating that sense of discovery. By giving the characters limited technology to work with, insurmountable odds, and alien creatures that can easily kill them, it forces them to rely on their wits and courage to get out of these binds they find themselves in, even if it's their own inquisitive nature that leads them to it. The titular abyss itself stands as essentially the final frontier, the last place to explore. That in of itself speaks to the natural human drive to seek out the unknown and understand it, as that's what's driven us to explore every corner of our own world, as well as dive deeper into the sciences. Understanding the unknown feeds that itch for completion that's basal to human needs. As the cast dive deeper to uncover the secrets of this mysterious hole in the ground, knowing it stretches at least 7 layers and going thousands of meters deep, and inside they're finding relics of a long-lost civilization that seem to be more technologically advanced than theirs, gives credence to why they would want to venture in despite knowing the dangers below. For us, learning these mysteries with the cast and seeing the varied environments lets us vicariously experience that same cathartic release, even if the monsters down there are unimaginable horrors. Creatures as big as school buses that float through the air and can swallow a human whole, and would happily do so, or things that mimic their killed prey to draw in others, and even poisonous future-seeing beasts that lash out over seemingly nothing. It's no wonder those who enter mostly don't come back. And this isn't even talking about the barely understood curse of the place that can kill or mutilate the human body beyond recognition if it tries to escape. The narrative purpose of which could be interpreted to mean that the price of understanding changes you irrevocably. That once you delve deep into knowing something, you can never go back. Made manifest by the Abyss killing or mutilating people who go past a certain point and dare to look back from whence they came. That instills a sense of hopelessness deep inside, echoing that the unknown is dangerous and will change who you are. But yet, they still dive in. Why? What's the reason for risking their lives and humanity? It's part of the manifest culture of the society around the Abyss. It's all they know, with knowledge and treasure being the big things their society values. Why does Riko chase her mother? Not just for love of finding her, but to stand by her side as one of the great spelunkers in their history books. She's willing to risk life and limb because the journey and discovery are far more important to her than whether she ever comes back. Her goals become the audience's, as we watch a wide-eyed kid going into the Abyss to find treasure with a misguided notion that she could actually find her mom. The knowledge she gains about the world she's delving deeper in, from how the lower layers house progressively more dangerous creatures, the curse gets stronger, and ultimately how these things work provides cathartic release for not just her, but the audience watching. This series raises a lot of questions early on about its setting. Questions that are worth asking as viewers, as we're not a part of this world. But the fact that the cast don't know all the answers to still gives us something to latch onto. It gives us something to discover with them. Which is why this series is such a fulfilling adventure. Made in Abyss is an experience. And I don't just mean it's a shocking ride with its torturous scenes and heart-wrenchingly sad atmospheric horror. The Cronenberg-esque body horror, brutally detailed gore, and sometimes disturbing imagery is juxtaposed so splendidly with the rounded features, wide-eyed protagonists, and beauty the world encompasses, even mixing these two tones into one another at times, leaving me in awe. Primarily, it's an emotional experience that rewards its viewers through highs and lows along with the cast. It doesn't just showcase an interesting fantasy world, but has the characters interacting with it, living it, and breathing it. And through that, it's one of the most successful stories to pull me in a long time. It's been a while since I found myself just thinking about a setting for so long. And if you're sitting on watching Made in Abyss, you're missing out. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and do all the other YouTube stuff to help the channel grow. You can also join my Discord with a link down in the description. And if you really want to support me, you can head on over to my Patreon to pick up some extra perks like voting on what I do next. And speaking of Patreon, I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Silverwolf and Volcarona for their continued support. Thanks for watching.